Hanson.
Here.
Holbach. Karpenko.
Yes.
Coop.
Here.
Larches.
Here.
Neither.
Yes.
Wagonist.
Here.
Wetzler. Zimmerman.
Yes. Okay, moving on, could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Okay, and moving on, could I get a motion for approval of the November 28th, 2016 minutes of the regular Planning Commission meeting, please?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Karpenko, seconded by Commissioner Coop. Call the roll, please.
Karpenko.
Yes.
Coop.
Yes.
Larches.
Yes.
Neither.
Yes.
Wagonist.
Yes.
Neither. Sorry, Zimmerman.
Yes. Moving on to agenda item number 1. This is Carlson's edition. Second edition, Block 1, Lot 1, and Prairie Green Second Edition, Block 1, Lot 1, Block 17, Lots 1 and 2, and Block 18, Lot 9, and rearrangement of Lots 5 and 8, Block 22, Prairie Green Second Edition, Lot 8. The sites are located at 22nd Avenue and 10th Street Southwest, 31st Avenue and 16th Street Southwest, 28th Avenue and 10th Street Southwest, 31st Avenue and 13th Street Southwest, and 24th Avenue and 15th Street Southwest, respectively. And with that introduction, the recommendation by the Planning Department is for a approval, and with that, I will turn it over to planning staff for additional comments and any other relevant comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The staff recommendation, as stated, was for approval with 5 conditions. The carrier network must apply for an encroachment permit from the City Council for each of the 6 locations requested. Condition number 3,
And with that, I would ask anybody that's here in favor of the application to please step forward and announce your name and position to the commission. Okay. Seeing no one step forward, is there anybody that would like to speak against or otherwise with this application, please? Councilman Penkow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I stand here for IRET Properties and my constituents of District 6. If we could go back in time a little bit, back when we were working on our ordinance, and there was a time, I would roughly say that was probably maybe a year ago, and we added, a section to the ordinance on cell towers. And the amount of cell phone towers within the city by maybe requiring them to be taller so that they could have multiple carriers on those towers. And it was really something that we heard from the public when Dakota Carrier came forward to place many of their cell phone locations. So standing on the side of IRET that I'm representing, two of these locations are on, three of the locations are on the mall property in the right-of-way, but they're adjacent to many of the other businesses around the mall. And I believe those properties have, built significant buildings, spent millions of dollars, and are also cognizant of trying to keep somewhat of the clutter in the city down as much as possible. We've gone through this with the billboard process, the cell tower. With SRT to see that, is this the best solution? Is 6 towers the best solution? The one tower, there's a cell phone tower directly to the east. It's a large monoline pole that was approved by the council, and it has multiple carrier access. And from what I see, there's only one band of panels at the very top of the of that pole. So I'd like to identify for sure that panels can be directionally sent to the mall area to pick up some of that signal, maybe reduce some of these smaller towers. Or, I guess I'm not calling out the mall. All of us like to go to the mall and be connected, but really it is the point of density that is created by the mall that is creating this issue. So I'd like to have Dakota Carrier look at the possibility of not only using that monoline pole on the east side to add another carrier, SRT, but add some small locations within their common area roof to add the other towers, so that maybe we can make this scenario from good to better and reduce clutter. And even as it states by the city planner, the city is expected to see many more of these requests as multiple wireless carriers continue to add sites and improve service. The planning department will be researching alternative approaches, such as co-locations of more than one user on a single pole. Well, we kind of went through that, but I like that we're going to go further, because now it seems like these micro towers are now the thing. So from the IRET standpoint, we'd like to see it held so that we can work with them to see if this is truly the best alternative. Standing in front of you as a councilman, I did get one constituent that called. They're concerned, their condo association is concerned with the tower to the east of the mall and the Thompson Lake. And they're pretty barraged already. They have all those parking lot lights in their face. They have signs and everything else glaring at them. So I'm thinking, or they stated they too would appreciate another look so that they could have the opportunity to maybe reduce the amount of poles that we're seeing on this plan currently.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Panko, have you had any discussions yet with DCN or as a representative of IRET?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, one minute, please. Yep. We'll give you a chance here in a second.
And I just, one other thing, Mr. Chairman, I'm just thinking about the hospital that's coming up around the corner, that I don't see that this will probably be the answer for the density that is driven by the hospital at that location. I would assume that they're going to do a license agreement on top of the building to handle all of their wireless needs. So just trying to attempt to make this a little bit better, if we can.
Okay. Commissioners, questions for Councilman Pankow? Thank you. Sir, please. Do we still have the sign-up sheet there? Up front?
Yeah, there's one.
Okay, yep. If you could just state your name and your role, please, for the
Good evening,
commissioners.
guys.
Thank
I'm
you.
Michael Mack with Dakota Carrier Network. I'll explain the whole project in a whole for the whole state of North Dakota. Currently, right now, DCN is working with Verizon Wireless, and the whole project entails 89 sites across the state of North Dakota. So there's sites in Minot, Williston, Bismarck, Fargo, UND campus, BSC campus, and NDSU campus. The way Verizon is sector per area. What these small cells are doing is honing into certain areas of a region, and Verizon did the studies already. They've been doing them for about the last 2 years of where can we put these small cells to relieve the macro, because the macro is on the north side of interstate. So that macro is feeding the mall. Everybody is stealing the bandwidth from that macro, and so even though that macro can feed a 4-mile radius, all of the bandwidth could be used just in the mall area itself. So it's more of a capacity thing. So I'm just trying to say why there is the need for small cells. So hopefully that kind of explains what a small cell technology is versus the macro. We have worked, like I said, with every city. We're definitely willing to work if there is issues of being in front of one apartment building and shifting them around. That's definitely what we're looking for. But they do need to be in that area of the mall for capacity reasons with their studies that they've already done. So we're definitely willing to work with people. And if we have to shift them, definitely.
I was just going to say, are you willing to have a dialogue, and especially with respect to the IREIT folks?
Yeah.
And the Councilman Pankow, who covers that area?
Absolutely.
To hold it potentially for a month and then have that discussion and then come back?
As long as our deadline was February 28th for Verizon to cut it off. We've been working on this project for almost 9 months. So what I'm looking from the commission is if we did work with those people, would there be a way to approve it 30 days from now overall, or would it have to wait 2 months to go to the city commission for approval? That's what I'm looking for, because we only have these 89 sites, and that's what's due for 2017. And if I don't get the approvals to Verizon shortly, they might just take them off the list, and that's what I'm concerned about more than anything.
And when you say sites in this case, would this represent 6 sites?
The
Since
6
they're
sites in
towers?
Minot might
Okay.
be taken off the list, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I would just check with the city attorney real quick with respect to potential process if this was motion to be held and then passed as such. I mean, obviously would,
Chairman Zimmerman, if the motion is to hold this until the next month's planning agenda, it will be on next month's agenda, and then it would go to the city council the following week.
Following week.
Yep. Council
Okay, so-
meetings are always 1 week after the planning commission meeting.
Okay, they are. So this month was the only one that's a whole month later then? Okay,
yes,
that's
there
what I
just wasn't a December meeting just based on
Okay,
the traditional calendar, so the
Okay.
holidays.
all right. No, definitely. So would it just be IRIT that we're working with, or is it something that? would
I think
direct-
essentially,
Is that what you guys
Councilman
are running?
Pankow, who represents that ward, and then also as a representative of IREIT that's located right there too, so.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, I think we have to agree to that. I don't want to force anything upon anyone, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please, Commissioner Neither.
Say one quick question. I didn't catch your name. What was your name?
Michael Mack.
Michael, there was a couple opportunities for co-location, and Commissioner Bankow is correct. It's on number 4, there's a large tower there that could potentially be used. And also on number 1, I saw roughly a 35-foot pole near there as well. Have you reached out to those individuals yet to research co-location opportunities?
Number 1, the only pole that I know is in the whole area was the street light pole out on 16th Street. I'm not aware of any other poles.
There was a lattice pole there that I saw, but,
Okay. Okay.
but
As far as mall property, the mall is owned by a nationwide company.
Sure.
We started trying to have conversations with them about placing it on the mall. We didn't get anywhere. They're a national chain, and they work with Verizon, and they weren't very interested at all. So to that point, it's kind of a one-way street there. We did not get anywhere.
Okay.
We've been working with them for
as
over
far as
9
working with the
months.
mall to put your I guess receivers on
Indoors or on their property.
on their property. Okay. What I'm saying is there are a couple other poles. Have you reached out to any of those individuals?
No, we have
Okay.
not. I know that if there are any type of cellular poles, Verizon's already on them, otherwise they would already be doing it. So if they are a cellular model pole already, Verizon's probably on it, is what I'm trying to say. So the number
Okay.
1, where it's just a single pole, that we haven't,
Okay.
but with the 89 sites that we've been working on, the amount of entities we've been working with, we've been trying to work with the city because the city is always the most, I mean, when you start working with private people and trying to get private easements and private permissions for a nationwide company, you don't get very far, you know. Plus, we view it as a public type of service, you know.
I understand. Mr.
sorry.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman, I just have to talk to Mr. Pankow's, I guess, discussion that, we've been talking for 5 years about co-location. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think I've seen any carrier co-locate in the city of Minot, to the best of my knowledge. So it's something that we've been talking about for a long time. We just can't get businesses to do it. So,
Yeah.
and I think we need to put more pressure on that.
And the poles that we are looking at placing are 3 carrier poles. So right now Verizon is the first carrier, and so there will be 2 more carriers, and we're burying enough capacity of fiber to them. So if the Sprints or the AT&Ts of the world do come to town, they will also be able to use it. Right now, the reason Verizon is looking at this is because they do have the sharehold of the customers. So obviously, even though they're on every pole in town, they still have a capacity issue. If you have Sprint or AT&T, I'm not trying to brag about anybody because I'm not a fan of either one of them, but when there's coverage, Verizon has the sharehold, so even though they have every tower in town, they still don't have the capacity because everybody is using it. So I don't know if Sprint or AT&T will be asking for this in the near future, unless there is an issue with getting a permission for a macro site.
That was one of my questions. I know we're going to most likely hold this item, but if AT&T and Sprint and all these other entities would like to put more poles up, can they go on these 6 poles?
We're building them with that intent.
With that intent, okay.
Yes, we're 100% building with that intent, and if they ever do approach the city in the future, I can't force them to buy it from DCMS or SRT, but
Sure.
if we already have that foot in the door with you guys, I know that they would leverage us also, you know.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Commissioner Karpenko, you?
Thank you. So it looks like you're encircling Dakota Square Mall and you're talking about capacity in that area. Who do you see as the biggest draw from capacity, or who do you envision serving the most or the greatest with your capacity that you're adding?
I would say that the multi-dwelling units, all of the mall area and all the restaurants at certain times a day.
And you've been working on this, you said, for 9 months?
With Verizon, we've been working on it for almost 2 years, but we didn't have a signed contract, so we couldn't initiate processes with the city entities for at least that long. At first, when we were working with the city of Minot, we didn't know who to work with. We missed a deadline with a date, and I believe, well, you're new, Lance, so we've been working at least for about 4 or 5 months with the city of Minot.
And during that time, at what point in time did you start having conversations with Dakota Square Mall?
Right away, almost instantly, because we actually drew 2 of the 6 sites were on Dakota Square Mall property itself.
Have you considered rooftop access or any kind of rooftop rental space, or putting, easements up on the roof and getting it off the ground and out of our vision?
Yes, we have. We've had issues with rooftops of, if you're on the roof of a building, you're not going to penetrate that building at all, because we're trying to, in a macro site, like the ones that are really tall, you can hit the whole area because that's on a pole and they disperse out. More than likely, the building that we're placing it on is the building that we're trying to penetrate the signal to, and also, again, trying to get private entities to allow you to put antennas on their buildings is really difficult too. And I don't know, have you guys had the chance to see these poles and see the antennas? You have seen the rendered photos and stuff like that, not the drawings.
We've
but-
been through the ordinance change on this, but
Okay.
ultimately, it would appear to me, what you're telling me is Dakota Square is the primary user of your capacity in this area.
I would say that, yes, the public traffic from the mall, yes, of course. I mean, the mall doesn't drive it at all, but yes, that's where I'm trying to explain, though, is the Dakota Square Mall is stealing the bandwidth from the macro, which feeds a 5-mile radius, so everybody around the 5-mile radius is struggling because of that. Yes, I agree. But is the traffic in the mall, or is it people in the cars by the mall and the restaurants and the MDUs? I don't have that honest answer. I'd be lying.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioners, other questions for Mr. Mack? Good. Thank you, Mr. Mack.
Thank you very much for
Yep,
your time. I
thank you.
appreciate it, guys.
Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak on behalf of this application? Okay. Seeing no one else, we'll close the public comment portion here, and I'll turn it over to the commissioners for a motion, please.
Make a motion to hold item.
Okay. Motion by Karpenko, seconded by neither. Discussion?
I think there's a lot more work to do. And I think that there has to be, if, I really see it as the biggest issue is capacity being absorbed by rents or tenants or customers of Dakota Square Mall. And so we've just gone through that ordinance change and we worked hard at that thing. And I cannot support sticking more poles on the ground. I just can't set that precedent, so.
Other comments, discussion? Okay, the motion is to hold. Please call the roll.
Karpenko,
Yes.
Coop,
Yes.
Larshus. Neither,
Yes.
Wagonist,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Barch,
Yes.
Burning,
Yes.
Bollinger,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Okay, motion to hold passes. Moving on to agenda item number 2, Highlander Estates Edition, Lot 13. This is an application by Todd Burney, Magic Meadows, represented by Trevor Theraldson, AE2S Engineering, to change the zone from R4 Planned Residential District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District on Highlander Estates Edition, Lot 13, for the purpose of accommodating a future office park. Also to amend the future land use map from downtown mixed use to commercial on Highlander Estates Edition, Lot 13. This property is located at the northwest corner of 37th Avenue and 23rd Street Southwest. And summarizing the city staff recommendation, it is to approve this application, but I will turn it over to city staff for further comments and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One note, the downtown mixed use is an error on the land use map. I think it needs to be general mixed use. So if we can have that in the minutes
Okay.
of the proceedings today. Staff recommended approval of this project, the rezoning land use map amendment, with 6 conditions. The first being that a traffic impact study is required before development can begin, and required improvements must be constructed by the developer. Number 2, stormwater management plan must be submitted to and approved by the city engineer. Condition number 3, elevation certificates are required for parcels within the 100-year floodplain. Buildings must be elevated per city ordinance requirements. Number 4, utility connection fees must be paid. Number 5, sidewalks are required along all platted right-of-ways. And finally, number 6, developer's agreement with the city of Minot is required to be approved and recorded when future replatting occurs or prior to development of Lot 13.
Okay, thank you. And is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak on behalf of this application? Please come forward. If you could state your name and association, please. Thank you.
Trevor Tharaldson with AE2S, here as the representative of the owners. Just here to, if you guys have any questions.
Okay, and the conditions that were just described are acceptable to the applicant?
Yes, it's actually the same group of owners that own the property to the east, and they went through this same process a few years ago, so they're aware of that.
Similar conditions and such? Okay,
Yes.
without trudging from recall. Okay, commissioners, any other questions for the applicant's representative? Okay, thank you. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak for this application? Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak against this application? Please come forward. Okay, seeing no one, we'll close off the public portion of this discussion, and I'll turn it over to the commissioners for a motion, please.
I'll move to approve the request with the conditions based on the finding of fact.
Second by Wagness. Okay, motion by neither. Discussion? Okay. Hearing none, the motion is to approve with conditions as stated. Please call the roll.
Neither,
Yes.
Wagonist,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Barch, Burning,
Yes.
Bollinger,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Karpenko,
Yes.
Coop,
Yes.
and Larshus.
Okay, motion to approve is passed. We're moving on now to agenda item number 5. This, the proposed Southeast Ridge Business Park, second edition, Block 1, lots 1 through 17, Block 2, lots 1 to 7. It's an application by Danny Schatz, represented by Sean Weeks, Ackerman Asphalt Engineering, to subdivide Outlot 19, less lots A through C, Section 19, 155, 82, Section 29, 159, 82. Southeast Ridge Business Park Addition, Block 1, lots 16 to 17, and Block 2, less the east 197.45 feet plus vacated 13th and all of vacated 15th Avenue southeast of Fife subdivision of a portion of Gold Nugget Edition into 24 lots to be known as Southeast Ridge Business Park, second edition, Block 1, lots 1 through 17, Block 2, lots 1 through 7. Also, to change the zone from MH manufactured home to M1 light industrial district on the proposed Southeast Ridge Business Park, second edition, Block 1, lots 1 through 17, Block 2, lots 1 through 7. Also, to amend the future land use map from medium density residential designation to industrial on proposed Southeast Ridge Business Park, second edition, Block 1, lots 1 through 17, Block 2, lots 1 through 7. This property is located to the southeast of the intersection of 13th Avenue and 35th Street Southeast. And with that somewhat lengthy introduction, the city staff recommendation is for approval, but I will turn over to city staff for further comments and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The staff recommendation is for approval of the land use map amendment, rezoning and subdivision for Southeast Ridge Business Park Addition with 6 conditions. The first being that a traffic impact study is required and improvements must be constructed by the developer. Number 2, stormwater management plan must be submitted to and approved by the city engineer. Storm sewer and pond improvements outside of the public right-of-way must be owned and operated by the developer or a property owners association. The pond and outfall of Southeast Ridge Business Park Addition must be incorporated into the proposed improvements and agreements for Southeast Ridge Business Park Second Edition. The third condition is additional 20 feet of permanent easement must be added to the existing sewer easement on Lot 7, Block 1. The fourth condition, elevation certificates are required for parcels within the 100-year floodplain. Buildings must be elevated per city ordinance requirements. Number 6, utility connection fees must be paid. And finally, condition number 6, developer's agreement with the city of Minot is required to be approved and recorded prior to recording of this plat.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come forward to speak on behalf and support of this application? Mr. Weeks, good evening.
I'm Sean Weeks with Ackerman Asphalt, representing the applicant. We concur with staff recommendations. I did note in here within the staff report that there's reference to the requirement of sidewalks, and we want to make sure that that's not going to be a requirement for an industrial subdivision.
That's out. It's not in the conditions.
Okay.
Very good. Yeah, with the exception of that, I really don't have any comments. Be happy to address any questions
Okay.
you may have.
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Weeks, if any? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak on behalf in support of this application? Please come forward. If there's anybody in the audience that'd like to speak against, in opposition to this application, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one else, we'll close the public portion of this discussion, and I'll turn it over to the commissioners for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve it based on staff finding of fact and conditions.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wagner, seconded by Commissioner Karpenko. Discussion? Okay, hearing none. The motion is to approve per staff recommendations and with the conditions stated. Roll call, please.
Wagonist,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Barch,
Yes.
Burning,
Yes.
Bullinger,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Karpenko,
Yes.
Coop,
Yes.
Larches,
Yes.
neither.
Yes.
Okay, the motion to approve passes. I think with that, we're adjourned for this evening.